Hey everybody, so here we have the Cube Computer PortaCube system, home for the Thanksgiving holiday break, and I hope all my viewers out there had a wonderful Thanksgiving with your family and friends. So here we're going to be doing a couple of things to the PortaCube. First, we're going to be swapping out this ByEasy USB 3.0 front panel header slash card reader, what do you want to call it. It has two USB 3.0 jacks in the front. It has a SD reader that's tied into the USB 3 connection, as well as a Type-C connection, but is also tied into the USB 3 connection. So up here we have this, I think it's pronounced Graugear front panel, 3.5 inch USB hub. It has USB 3.0 ports here, a card reader that's tied to USB 3, but also we have two Type-C ports. We have one that is 5 gigabits per second and one that's 20 gigabits per second. So this one uses both the standard USB 3 connection as well as the smaller, newer USB 3.2 connection. So I got all this stuff off of Amazon. So not only will this video cover installing the card reader, but it will also cover adding additional ports to the system, because this system does not have this style connector. We're going to have to install an expansion card to provide that connection. So this will also cover, let's say if you have a computer that does not actually have USB 3 connections or the newer USB 3.2 connections inside, and you want to expand your system with those ports, this will cover that as well. So this is the card reader, and what's interesting about this is it's very similar to that, with the exception of having the additional Type-C port, which the Type-C port up top, the 20 gig per second port, is tied directly to this right here. So in order to utilize this whole thing, you must have both this connection as well as this connection available on your motherboard or on an expansion card. So here we have this USB 3.x PCI Express host card. Also got this on Amazon. It wasn't a whole lot of money. It was actually really cheap. This is what you get inside. It comes with a low profile cover in case you're installing a system that's low profile. They're nice enough to give you some installation screws. And this is the card itself, and they give you a driver's CD. That is so 2004. Most likely we will not need that, but this card, it provides you both the old style USB 3 connection here as well as the new style here. So they actually ship this with this covered up. There's a little plastic piece I had to take out in order to install this style connection there. So there's a look at the card itself. Not too much going on there. Alright, so looking back at our front panel 3.5 inch hub, you notice there's a presence of a SATA power connection. Well, for those who have been following this channel for a couple of years now, I might remember when I first installed this one, it also has a SATA connection on the card. And it had a design flaw to where the SATA connection was providing 5 volts power along with the USB power, which normally you'd think that's okay, it's not a big deal, but when your USB power is tied in with the 5 volt standby rail coming from the power supply, it's not good. When your computer is quote-unquote turned off, everything that runs on 5 volts is lit up because it's getting power from the 5 volt standby rail, and then your computer won't start because it doesn't know what's going on. It's not good. We will see if they corrected this issue with this card. Now, it might not be present in this setup, although what I guess I could do is I could connect this here to the motherboards USB 3 connection to see if that issue is present. But I'm thinking, with both connections tied to this expansion card, we may not have that issue because I don't think this is getting power off the 5-volt standby rail. There's probably some configurations where it could, but I'm going to say this is probably getting power from the 5-volt rail. So, that being said, we're going to start out by pulling this out and getting this installed. Okay, so we're going to have to get our hard drive out of the way so that way we can access the screw that holds the 3.5-inch front panel drive in place. So one thing I don't like about this case is when it comes time to service it or do repairs inside the computer, it can be a real pain because you got to take stuff out of the way to get the stuff. And also, this case is made out of aluminum, and not too long ago when I was working on this thing, when the NVMe drive failed, and I had to slap in a 2.5-inch SATA SSD that I had on hand to get this system back up and going, the freaking threads just completely snapped right out of the aluminum frame. So I'm like, oh, wonderful. So now I'm holding this thing together using a motherboard standoff that has the same threads as a screw. Wonderful. I'm just going to get this out of here. Alright, just going to pull this out of here. Make sure I have everything that's connected there. Alright, now we have access to the screw for this front USB hub thing. So my plan for that, my plan for the one that's currently in this system is I'm about to upgrade the Cube Computer Plexi, and I'm going to be adding this to the Plexi to replace the current USB 2.0 card reader that's on it. So once I get both of these out, I'll show you the similarities between these two. Alright, so here's the ByEasy, which no longer is sold on Amazon. Gee, I wonder why. And here is the new 3.5-inch front panel USB hub / card reader. So they're all a little bit different in design. This one has a proper internal header for the USB 3.0. This one just has a freaking external USB connection on this cable here, which on one side has an external type connection and then the internal type for the motherboard. Now, as mentioned, this one has a design flaw to where it uses the 5-volt SATA power to boost its USB power, but the problem is they have the 5 volts from this tied to the 5 volts from this. That's not good. That's a real problem with modern computers that utilize 5-volt standby power on the USB ports, at least in sleep. The proper design is to, if they're going to use a SATA connection for a boost of power for the front panel USB ports, then they need to keep that power separated from the power on the USB 3 connection. So that way they're not backfeeding 5-volt power into 5-volt standby or 5-volt standby power into the 5-volt rail. So we're going to get this installed and we'll see if it has that same problem. We'll test it just to see. Now this actually have a warning telling you, it says the SATA power cable from your PC power supply is required to be connected to SATA power port of the device. Okay, so we're going to heed that warning and connect it. but we shall see what happens. Alright, so first step is to get this in there, and then we're going to install that expansion card. Okay, so one little issue I'm running into is this new card reader or hub. The frame on it is not as deep into the system, so it's not meeting up with the original hole that the old reader was installed into. So I kind of had to do this with it, which, I mean, it's holding, so there we go. So I'm going to go ahead and slip this hard drive back into place. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and install the expansion card. So in this case, the proper way to do it is to take the motherboard tray out, which would require disconnecting all sorts of stuff inside here, but I'm going to take a shortcut. I'm just going to pull the power supply loose and set it up out of the way. Alright, so we'll just go ahead and rest the power supply up out of the way. Now we have very easy access to the area that we need to get to. So let's go ahead and pull out this expansion slot cover. Let's go ahead and install our new card. Alright, so now we'll go ahead and put the power supply back into place. Okay, so I had to pull the hard drive back out and slide this DVD drive forward to give me enough room to reach in and plug in the SATA connection to the back of this thing. The joys of working in a small form factor case like this. This one actually ain't that bad compared to some others. Alright, we're going to see if this new card reader has the design flaw. So this motherboard typically powers the USB ports from 5-volt standby power when the system's turned off. Alright, let's see what happens here. Okay, so nothing. Let's start it. Alright, it looks like they addressed the issue with this one because it's actually starting up. So that's when I unplugged it. Alright, so that's good news. Apparently this new device here does not have the design flaw that the ByEasy reader has, or the ByEasy USB hub. So it looks like they did it properly with this this product here, and that's probably why I had that warning label telling you that you must plug up SATA power for this to function. So that's good. Alright, so let's go ahead and button this thing back up to where we was earlier, and then we'll go ahead and connect everything up to the new expansion card. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and disconnect this front panel hub, and we're going to connect both this USB 3 connection as well as the USB 3.2 connection to the expansion card. Man, why they make this so difficult to get out. And of course, in typical fashion, they give you way more cable than you'll ever need, but I guess I can't blame because some computers this thing has to travel a long distance to get to the motherboard or to the expansion card. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead first and take out this little plastic protective piece for the USB 3.2 connection. We'll get it connected since it's down below. I think these are designed the same as the Type-C port, where it can go in not just one but two different ways. Alright, that's in there. And now the traditional USB 3 connection. Alright. Boy, this thing's becoming a rat's nest real quick. Yeah, I gotta take out some stuff. For example, up front here, we got these media connections which are basically useless right now because we don't have the expansion card in there for those. It's basically a I had a TV tuner capture card in this thing because I had the idea that I might need it for something, but turns out haven't needed it at all. So I pulled it out kind of recently. So we have now our Wi-Fi expansion card, which has Bluetooth also, and we also have our USB 3/3.2 expansion card. Alright, we'll go ahead and do a power up with this thing. Alright, let's go ahead and power this thing up. Even has a little indicator LED on it to let you know it's getting power. Okay, so we're in Windows now, and it took a moment for the drivers to install for this, but they automatically installed. No need for that included CD in the box for the expansion card there. Yeah, that's kind of thought that was kind of funny, but it detected the expansion card, and the expansion card detects the new 3.5-inch front panel hub, and the SD card reader works, and also the top USB-C connection works. So it's seeing my little portable SSD there. So for example, going to this PC, we can see both the micro SD card as well as my little portable SSD. So good to go there. So for example, what I'm also going to do is plug up my phone to the bottom USB-C connection. My phone's about dead. Which I should know is also seeing my phone on this PC. Now I have to wonder if fast charging would be supported by this. I think it also depends on the cable used as well. But yeah, up and running. And it looks like this device has also suffered from the same design flaw of the ByEasy front panel hub, where you cannot use a SATA power connection to power this, otherwise it will backfeed the 5-volt standby rail to the 5-volt rail in your system. Not an issue with this one. So anyways, there you go. That's installing this front panel Graugear, how you pronounce it, USB hub, and also installing that expansion card, so that way you can get additional USB 3 ports as well as the USB 3.2 Type-C. So anyways, hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.